I was doing a little stats research a
Mm,
couple weeks ago,
mm,
and because you're essentially in the e-commerce,
mm.
and just in 2020, like that was the biggest like huge increase in 2020 for e-commerce. They grew the whole entire. If you look at the whole entire e-commerce business, whole entire e-commerce industry, they
Mm.
grew just from 2019 to 2020. They had a 3-year increase in just those 12 months, just for
Yep,
2020, from the insane amount of
it's
increase
crazy.
in the e-commerce sales. So I guess my question to you is, and if if I had this correctly, brick and mortars, brick and mortars had a 60% decline in brick and mortar businesses.
Mm.
So I want to talk about that, brick and mortars, and going from having your a physical location in the online implementation. Do you think that brick and mortars are in trouble? That's an obvious question. And if you do think they're in trouble, what can people that don't fully utilize the internet, what can brick and mortars do? And maybe they can't. Maybe they can't really utilize the internet like how they should. Maybe considering their product isn't really a like a maybe not like a very easy product to ship out. Maybe they don't have enough money. I don't know what the problem is. What can
Mm.
brick and mortars do to compete with these internet businesses that can just print their products out and send them out? How can they compete with these numbers and with this industry?
Well, I think brick and mortars don't realize that they have a power that a lot of these online businesses wish they had, which is they already have a community around their brands. They already have
Yeah,
loyal customers that want to go to their stores or restaurants or boutiques. They already have that clientele. And so the thing now is they have to keep engaging that clientele in a digital manner. So if for example it's a restaurant, you see a lot of restaurants how pivot in a way by doing online ordering. Well, I think they can take that to another
yeah.
level. That if
What is it? Is it Grub? It's not. Is it Grubhub?
mm,
It's Grubhub, but it's another one.
there's Uber Foods, there's DoorDash.
Yeah.
Yeah.
DoorDash. Oh my gosh, that like I literally remember like last March how many businesses were. Oh, we
Mm.
just partnered with DoorDash. We just partnered with DoorDash, and that was that innovation. So sorry to
Yeah.
interrupt you, but
Yeah, I
yeah, I just remember
mean, they
seeing
can
that.
do that. Another avenue is if they have a restaurant, they can actually educate. I mean, this is what I'm talking about. Like, if you already have a clientele, you could put out your recipes online. They could pay for that. You could put out. I know a restaurateur that came out with a cookbook, a digital cookbook, and he started charging for that. Like, do you wish
Yeah,
you could cook our chicken at your home and you can't order it from our store? Then here you go. Here's our cookbook of our best sellers. The all the dishes that you loved. You can just pay for it like $50 per.
yeah.
That's one way.
That's
You
IP.
you know
That's
what
being
I'm
smart
saying?
with your IP. Yeah,
Yes, and also you can educate if you don't want the digital cookbooks. Then you can educate. You can create a virtual event around your brand. There are so many ways to keep your clientele engaged and for them to have a reason to support you continuously because you're giving so much more value other than the primary product that you're offering. So I would say that whatever your business model is, if it's a brick and mortar, find a way to digitize whatever it is you're offering, may it be the knowledge that you have, or find a way to educate people on the skills. I also know a friend of mine who sells musical equipment. He had to close his brick and mortar store, but then he started teaching electric guitar and started creating virtual events and virtual classes around it. And so he's selling his products through that. And so find a way to educate an audience online and to really monetize on your skills aside from the products that you're offering.
yeah. That's that innovation that
Mm-hmm.
a lot of people, a lot of businesses, they're scared to go for it because I remember this was not a year ago, but AMC theaters. What was so crazy is because I've been talking about AMC theaters before that whole incident with GameStop. That was really funny, but they they were planning on opening. I think it was
Mm,
around 10 to 12 more 10 to 12 more, it was 100, I think 100 theaters in 2021. They reported that last year. And I remember reading back in like 2018, 2019 that the movie theater industry was in like huge decline. So I'm thinking of, and also there was more movie theaters opening up around where I was at. So I'm like, why are all these movie theaters opening when the data clearly indicates that movie theaters are in decline? So one of the things that AMC theaters did, because they were already going out of business, like millions of dollars in debt, one of the things that they did was, I don't know if you've seen it, but you can now rent out AMC theaters for like $99. Like you can rent out the whole entire theater. Did you ever see that?
Oh yeah. I think it's great.
Yeah, that was one of the things that they did. They said, okay, well, you can rent our whole entire theater for $99, and that's not necessarily in a digital innovation, but the whole point is that
It was a pivot.
yeah, it was a pivot, and a lot of and when you have because they didn't want to go over the top. They didn't like AMC. I remember they had like an article. This was like in 2012. I don't know why I'm so obsessed with movies. I don't even watch movies. I'm just like I don't know why I'm always into this stuff. But they said that they didn't want to be like Hulu. They didn't want to turn into a Netflix. They didn't want to be like an over the top, like a stream like Amazon. They didn't want to get into that. They wanted to have their movie theaters. So with that being said, they didn't necessarily want to go digital. They made the most out of their brick and mortar place. They didn't want to go digital. And so now, and I don't know how. Well, obviously they had that huge spike, and maybe I don't know what the stock price is now. Their stock price was like $400, like 2 months ago, which was absolutely ridiculous. But I guess my point was, well, let me ask you. So you said people can make digital innovation. That guy was selling musical instruments, and now he's selling things. You had a great example of or you said a restaurant was selling their IP. Like, okay, well, here's our recipes. So how would a brick and mortar place innovate like non-digitally? And what my presumption was that they make the most out of their physical location. Rather, they can install, if they have the money, they can probably. I remember what was it, Capital One? Their cafes. I don't know if you've seen that. They started opening up a lot of cafes within the Capital One because that attracts a different type of the atmosphere in Capital One. That attracts high net worth individuals. They come in there with the little laptops and they converse, blah 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 blah. That leads to more opportunities for the bank. It leads more word of mouth opportunities. So what would you say? What are some ways that brick and mortars can innovate non-digitally?
It's really wonderful that you brought that up, because there's a stat out there that says that millennials or Gen Z value more experiences, social experiences, more than material things. So they would rather, if they have a limited amount of money, and they could spend that on just one thing. And you ask them, well, do you want to go skydiving or own a new laptop? They would pay for the skydiving because they want to experience that. So even if it's not something that you can probably own for a lifetime, it's an experience, it's a memory, it's the togetherness that's there with you forever. And so I think that's very insightful to know that a lot more people now are valuing social experiences. And so with the comeback of AMC opening up their theaters,
because we've been like in jail like forever. So that's no wonder.
Yeah, I think people miss it, but also this behavior has been around for a while with the emergence of the hashtag Wanderlust, the music festivals, people paid for that Fire Festival sham. I mean, people want experiences. People want to, because of the lifestyle impact. Maybe the experience makes them look cool, or maybe it's just the social impact of it. It makes them feel like they belong and in touch with their friends. And so whether it's Capital One creating a cafe location or AMC opening up their stores, I know drive-in cinema is also making a comeback. People could drive in, watch movies in their car. I mean, I would pay for that experience too. And I think if you could create an atmosphere where people can socialize in this situation where it's a pandemic, obviously with the proper regulations in place, I think you can still pull it off. If you can pivot to creating that social experience for your customers, aside from here you go, here's your order, or here you go, here's the product, have a nice
Yeah.
day. If you could put up an accent wall where they can take pictures, or a place where they could eat, or an experience table where they could put their hands on something and really just immerse themselves in the experience of your store or of your venue, then I think that's a brilliant way to engage your community in a non-digital way.